Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today is another episode of my breaking news series, and today we're going to be talking about Infinite Destinies and Marvel's plan for the Infinity Stone. So this isn't exactly a regular episode of breaking news because all of these comics have been announced like a few weeks ago at this point, over the span of a few months, because this event, Infinite Destinies, is going to be spanning across June all the way to August through a bunch of annuals, so we'll get into all of the details. But as the title of the event might suggest, it's going to be following the Infinity Stones, which Marvel Comics hasn't been dealing with very much lately. It's actually been a really long time since they've had any storylines completely focusing on the Infinity Stones, despite the stones being such an important part of the Marvel Universe. But now they're finally remembering about the stones, and after so long creating some sort of event, and they have a really long-term plan for it based on the descriptions of some of these issues. This Infinite Destinies series of annuals is only the beginning. It's leading into a Black Cat story arc, and then a bunch of stuff for the next 5 years of Marvel. So for anyone unfamiliar, the Infinity Stones are these 6 gems, so I can use this as an example. Of course, they were in the movies, in the famous Avengers Endgame, Avengers Infinity War, except in the comics, they are remnants of a being from the past Marvel Universe that created the current one, and they stuck around, but when all put together, they form a circuit feeding off of each other, and basically the user has infinite power if they assemble all of the stones. That's led to big storylines like the Infinity Gauntlet. Since then, they've been traveling from different users. They've switched colors and powers and everything, but the most recent stuff that we've seen from the Infinity Stones is these events called Infinity Countdown and Infinity Wars. And in those we saw just a bunch of different people get their hands on the Infinity Stones. Gamora was involved. She became kind of a villain in that event. And since then, the Infinity Stones haven't been a huge part of the Marvel Universe. They've mainly been appearing as people. So basically the way that event ended, spoilers for Infinity Wars, basically at the end, Adam Warlock was in possession of all of the Infinity Stones, and he thought that they would want to stay with him, but they ended up all just flying off into the distance, and they all went to find hosts, basically, granting these people power. We saw the Time Stone go to a prisoner in death row who wasn't guilty for his crimes, but he was about to be executed, so he was able to pause time to break out of his jail cell. We saw one go to Star, the new Captain Marvel villain, and we also saw the Power Stone, I think, appear in Jonathan Hickman's X-Men run. Since then, we haven't really seen any more details on the Infinity Stones. There's probably a few that I'm not realizing I've missed. I'm not even sure if Marvel has revealed which person is in possession of each stone yet. But they've kind of been ignoring the stones for a while. Like I was saying, they have been in the background of different things, like Star and that death row inmate being able to have these stones to use them, but they haven't come together. Nobody's been trying to assemble these stones. Can we talk about the Infinity Stones? Talk about what? The Infinity Stones. They're important. Infinity Stones? What's that even supposed to mean? Are you kidding? The Infinity Stones. You know, these things. Hey, give it back. That's mine. These are the Infinity Stones. Ew, why are they embedded in the fist? This has been on your desk for years and you've never looked at it? I don't know. Get a load of this guy. Who are you even talking to? But now in Infinite Destinies, coming through June all the way to August, they're launching a whole bunch of annuals, which will tell the story continuously. Marvel's done this in the past, but if you don't know, an annual is basically just an extra issue of any ongoing series that will come out yearly, just like a special extra one-shot. Usually not too much actually happens in these annuals, but Marvel's been doing them for a really long time, and this time they're using these annuals to tell a continuous story. They'll probably all tie together in some way, and I do know that there's also a backup story that's continuous, all tied together, running through all of these annuals. Infinity Score is basically the follow-up to Infinite Destinies. We've seen the first and second issues of that story arc solicited so far, but it's just going to be a story arc in the main Black Cat series. But you'd think a big Infinity Stone story like that would go on in the ongoing Avengers series, or possibly Guardians of the Galaxy. But I think the reason for this going on in the actual Black Cat series is because the writer behind this whole Infinite Destinies event is Jed MacKay. He's been writing the ongoing Black Cat series for a really long time, so he kind of favors that character, and I guess Marvel let him get away with it. But Infinity Score is supposed to center around Black Cat trying to assemble the Infinity Stones. Of course, her whole deal is that she's hired as a thief to go steal things. She's really good at her job, and little does she know that the Infinity Stones are all people now. But we're talking about Infinite Destinies in this video. So let's go over these actual annuals, which series are going to be having these annuals, and the creative teams on them. So of course Jed MacKay is the main guy behind all of this, so it looks like the backup stories in every single annual forming a continuous story will be written by him, and the art will be by Juan Ferreira. It's going to be a series following Nick Fury somehow dealing with the stones. But in June, we've got 3 different annuals coming out to kick everything off. First one we've got here is Iron Man Annual. This is written by Jed MacKay, just the main writer, kicking things off for this whole event. The art is by Ibrahim Robertson, and we have a cover there by Nick Bradshaw. So it looks like this one is going to be dealing with this corporation, some sort of evil being that's been a big character in the Miles Morales Spider-Man series lately. Iron Man taking things into his own hands, but basically that blue character attacking Iron Man that we see on the cover there. In the Miles Morales series, he's been experimenting on Miles, trying to clone things, which has led into the whole Clone Saga story arc in Miles' series that we've been seeing lately. So who knows, maybe that blue villain that we've been seeing in the Miles series actually is in possession of one of the Infinity Stones. But it's really not clear like how many of these actual issues will have Infinity Stones in them, or maybe just the backup stories will deal with the Infinity Stones, because there's 8 different annuals. There's only 6 stones, so even if there was one in every single issue, there'd be a couple that just didn't have stones in them. I don't know how exactly these issues are going to tie together, but I'm glad they're not revealing too much. It's always exciting to find out what the actual deal is once you read the issue. And then we've also got Infinite Destinies Captain America Annual #1. This one is written by Jerry Duggan, so he's coming back to the Infinity Stones, revisiting this whole idea with the death row inmate that he created at the end of his Infinity Wars saga. I'm glad to see that Jerry Duggan is chipping into this a little bit so that the past writer who had taken on the Infinity Stones can hand off the torch to the new writer, Jed MacKay, for this whole new Infinity Saga. And then we've also got a 3rd annual coming out in June. This one is Black Cat Annual #1. Of course written by Jed MacKay, because he's the ongoing writer of the main Black Cat series. And the art on this one is by Joey Vasquez. But it looks like in this one they're going to, I think, Tokyo in order to deal with White Fox. It's supposed to be dealing with the aftermath of Taskmaster #3. That's Jed MacKay's whole little universe, corner of the Marvel Universe that he's setting up. He wrote a Taskmaster series a while back. It was just a mini-series, but I haven't read it, but I guess Taskmaster came across the White Fox in that issue, so now Black Cat is coming across her, and we'll probably see the aftermath from Taskmaster. I guess that'll be leading into the Black Cat story arc Infinity Score, which is the follow-up to Infinite Destinies. So yeah, that's June, and now moving on to July. We've got 2 different issues, so they're dialing it down a little bit for July. And we've got 2 pretty good looking annuals here. The first one is Amazing Spider-Man Annual #2. This is really strange. I guess they're calling it #2 because Amazing Spider-Man, of course, has had annuals in the past, but ever since this series relaunch of Amazing Spider-Man with Nick Spencer writing it, I guess they're just counting the annuals from the beginning. This Amazing Spider-Man Annual #2 is written by Carla Pacheco, who's been doing work on the Spider-Woman series, another one I've regretted not being able to get. I've heard really good things about that one. And on the cover here we see Spider-Man teaming up with Star, who of course is in possession of one of the stones. But now the only other issue that we've got coming out in July is probably the one I'm the very most excited for out of all of these Infinite Destinies issues. This is Thor Annual #1. The reason why I'm excited is because it's written and drawn by Aaron Kuder, who is one of my favorite artists. But Aaron Kuder has also done a couple issues. He's drawn a couple issues with Donny Cates of the main Thor run, so now this is branching off into this extra issue, written and drawn by him. My one worry is that he doesn't have that much actual writing experience. This is supposed to center around Thor and Hawkeye teaming up for some reason, and it's some sort of World Tree celebration. Could be the aftermath of the current Thor story arc, Prey, in which Donald Blake was hacking at the World Tree, as well as tying into Infinite Destinies and somehow having to deal with one of the Infinity Stones. And then to finish it all off with these solicitations, for the August issues, we've got 3 different annuals to finish off this whole story arc. So the first one that we've got here is Miles Morales Spider-Man Annual #1. It's written by Saladin Ahmed with art by Luca Maresca, which is good to see. Saladin Ahmed is the main writer on the Miles series right now. He's been doing a really good job lately. It's honestly one of my favorite series. It has a good, lighthearted tone. And the character we see there on the cover is Amulet, who is, I guess, was a new character in the Ms. Marvel series, which Saladin Ahmed also wrote. That just wrapped up recently, and I hadn't been getting that series, but I guess they introduced this new character who maybe is in possession of one of the Infinity Stones. But then these last 2 annuals that we've got are very important. They're dealing with actual teams that are important to the Marvel Universe. The first one is Guardians of the Galaxy Annual #1, written by Al Ewing, who is the main writer on the Guardians of the Galaxy series right now, and artist by Flaviano. So that's a pretty good creative team. I actually haven't been liking Al Ewing's Guardians run quite so much lately. I feel like it's been lacking like the banter and just funniness that a Guardians comic really needs. But I'm still glad to see that Al Ewing is writing this because he's been doing a good job on most of his series. And we see that this issue is following the Prince of Power, some sort of like new character. I'm not sure if he's new or if he has Marvel history, but a pretty obscure character that's been appearing in Al Ewing's Guardians of the Galaxy run, who it's looking like was just a regular guy, but then got his powers from some sort of thing, which I'm guessing is an Infinity Stone. And then to finish off this whole story arc, with the biggest team, of course, they're finishing it off with the Avengers Annual #1. This one is written by Jed McKay. He's just finishing off this whole event. And the art is by Travel Foreman. I think they teamed up on the original Black Cat run, at least on that first story arc that they did together. And it looks like this issue isn't specifically guest starring any character that has the stones. I think this is really the wrap-up to everything. All of these different annuals coming to a close and revealing the future of the Infinity Stones. It looks like all of the stone bearers will be revealed here. The last secret of the Infinity Stones, it says in the description. And Captain America and Iron Man meeting from their separate annuals together to form some sort of pact or fighting each other. I don't know. Something will happen with the stones. Not too much has been revealed, of course, but it's all leading into the Black Cat story arc Infinity Score, where she'll try to be stealing the Infinity Stones, and that's written by Jed McKay, so he's really the guy behind all of this. I'm not sure if this is leading to like a whole Marvel Universe rebirth like Secret Wars was, or if it's just going to be kind of a self-contained thing over these 5 years that they're rolling out these issues. All we know about this so far is that Infinite Destinies is happening and Infinity Score is happening, but my guess is that after that it'll be leading into some sort of other event like Infinity Wars was, where they're going to be having tie-ins and all that stuff. But I'm glad that they're leading up to it in some way and they're actually having a long-term plan instead of just some like little self-contained event with a bunch of tie-ins. And I'm glad to see that they're doing annuals for all these different characters and taking parts from all the different corners of the Marvel Universe, tying them together and finally bringing these stone bearers back together, because it's been so long since we've seen any of the Infinity Stones even in the same room together. So that's pretty much it. That wraps up this episode of Breaking News. Of course, the news wasn't that breaking because this stuff has been announced over the last few months, but I figured it'd be a good idea to make a video about it, tell you guys what I'm thinking of it, and just all the info you need to know about those creative teams and everything. Definitely let me know what you're thinking about this Infinite Destinies event and Marvel's plan for the future of the Infinity Stones down in the comments section below. I'd love to know what you guys are thinking about this whole thing. Also, if you did like this video at all, make sure to subscribe. You can also hit that notifications bell, which is sitting right next to it. You'll be notified every single time I post a new video if you don't want to miss any. So that's everything from me for today. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. Bye, guys.